Greetings everybody, it's Jim, and I just got my PDF version of Hexagram number 5 recently, and I got so stoked over the quality content in there that I just had to make an impromptu video. So today, I'm going to be talking to you about why you should be using Hexagram from Steve Jackson Games, and this is regardless of what system you use for fantasy roleplay. Because this is actually more about ideas than statistics. Yeah, it is made for the fantasy trip, but converting anything over that you need to is not going to be hard. It's going to be a cakewalk, so don't worry about that. Plus, it's only $5 for the PDF, $7.95 for one of these physical copies, so you really don't lose. I mean, there's a lot of, like I said, number 5 is just packed of content for $7.95 or $5 for the PDF. Now, Hexagram is a role-playing zine with roughly 40 pages in length, and it is very good quality paper. It's made for the long haul if you get the physical version, and it's printed by a company called Mixam, and I have the link down below because they were actually promoted in this Hexagram number 4 by Steve having an interview, and they actually promote the idea of that if you want your own zine or role-playing game supplement, go ahead and give them a call, and maybe you make some of your own dreams come true. So anyway, enough about everything else. Let's just get right into it. Now, the first thing you're going to notice about reading Hexagram is definitely has that fantasy trip feel to it, whether it be the artists or just the writers themselves. I mean, somehow everybody seems to be on the same page to make this have the same feel. I don't know how that happens, but it does, and it's pretty cool. Now, even though there is a feel to the hexagrams, there is no theme. You're just going to bounce around from subject to subject, which is going to jostle your creativity. It's just a flow of information, everything from tactics, the storytelling, the interviews. I mean, it could be anything. Now, the first 2 hexagrams were written by Steve Jackson and crew, maybe a few other contributors, but basically the game just got re-released a few years ago, so they didn't have a lot of input yet from players. But they tried to coax that on by saying, hey, we're going to have a postcard contest, and if you can put a little small labyrinth or a set of encounters on that, you know, if the winners will be posted in Hexagram number 3, which is what happened. Hexagram number 3 and had a whole bunch of postcard winners, and it was a pretty cool idea. And what that did was spawn a whole bunch of people that now said, you know what, I can do this. I can write for Steve Jackson, and they put all their stuff in. And as Steve Jackson said, his slush pile for the fantasy trip is quite full, or Hexagram, I should say. And not that I've sent anything in. You know, I sent him a few things. I am blessed to be in number 4 and number 5, and I'm very happy about that. Now, one of the most useful articles that I've seen is actually in Hexagram number 4, and it's by Howard Kistler, and it's called Not by Iron Alone. So basically, he's talking about making weapons and armor with something other than just iron or silver. And you know, he talks about wood, bone, and stone, which is really my favorite part of it, because it talks about using something that's lesser, so it has some kind of degrading value, whether it be heavier or just doesn't do as much damage. There's something there, and durability. Which is nice. And of course, he's got his more rare materials like Volcastra, which comes from volcanoes, and Chrysoton, which burns and blisters when it hits. I mean, it's more than just saying this gives you an extra +1. There's things like durability and weight. Durability, of course, can, you know, you're used to having a shield. Well, now you don't anymore. You know, that matters in some games. But weight is a big one. Not that anybody really does much of an encumbrance in the games that they play, really. But when it comes down to getting armor, it's just one check. You know, you say, okay, what's that change? Does that change anything? Because in the fantasy trip especially, it can affect movement and dexterity. And so it's worth checking every time you don some new armor at the very least. Now, this is also from Hexagram number 4, so technically, if you haven't bought a Hexagram yet, make sure you buy number 4. It's the one I'm going to recommend to you for all kinds of reasons. But this, and I kid you not, is one of the best encounters I've read in decades. It's called The Headmaster and the Library of Lives, written by a guy called Chris Warden. Now, I was so impressed by this before I made this video, I did an internet search for Chris Warden to see if he's written anything professionally, and it doesn't look like he has. I can't find anything about it, so if there's something you know that I don't, please put it in the comments below, because I want to be educated and read some of this stuff. But if this is his rookie endeavor, he knocked it out of the flipping park. Holy cow. Now, the thing about the Library of Lives is basically it's an enclave that wants to preserve human intelligence. All right. And so what they do is they find men and women that are very well educated, and before they get too old, they harvest them, which is a nice way of saying they chop off their freaking head. Okay. And they put it in some kind of lantern thing, which, as you can see, the headmaster leads them all back to the enclave. So now the thing is, they do get immortality, but the problem is they also lose their free will for the most part. Some of them do fight out of it and they keep their free will, but they also go mad. So, and there are rare cases where they actually keep their faculties, and but that is very rare. Now, the thing is about this is not just a cool idea, but it's also tactical. As you can see there, can you imagine that on the board? Every head is in its own square or hex or whatever you're going to use. And basically that could add to a lot, because each head, since they're very smart, if they know anything about spells, well, they can cast them without moving a hand, or maybe even not even talking. So that's some interesting thing. So this headmaster who controls all these, unless they've retained their free will, he controls all these walking encyclopedias, and all kinds of things can happen. That would be one heck of a battle. So really, really a beautiful idea by Chris Warden. I highly recommend Hexagram number 4 if you're going to go for just one. Now here's Hexagram number 5, and I know I just got done saying that you should get into Hexagram number 4 if you've never gotten a Hexagram before, but at the same time, this is the reason why I'm doing the video, because I was so stoked about Hexagram number 5, so I don't think you're going to lose here either. So let's just get into what's in it. Basically, starts out with Steve Jackson doing a few articles. Some of them are tactical, like donning rings and drinking potions amid combat. And what we're seeing here is Skarg's Tavern, which is coming out on this neoprene mat that was with Hexagram number 5, which I think I'm getting mine this week, maybe even today. I'm looking forward to it. But basically, he fills out Skarg's Tavern a little bit. And this map, by the way, is made by Dyson Logos, who Steve also interviews for a few pages in Hexagram number 5. So it's nice information there. Now, there is something called the Gallery of Glitching Gates by Stefan Jones that I think, I've just perused it a little bit, but I think it's going to have the potential to be like Chris Warden's Library of Lives. I mean, it looks like it has the potential to be that good. So I'll leave you to reading that one on your own. Now, Howard Kistler, he's up to it again with this time a very useful article about toxins. He's got 9 different toxins and different ways to deliver the toxins rather than a trap with a needle shooting out, right? Peter Kleinsmid, I hope I said that one right. He added playability to the Death Test programmed adventure with 54 expanded random fighters that use talents, as opposed to not using talents because the original game was just melee and it wasn't in the labyrinth with all the talents and such. So now he's made them with talents, and with 54 random fighters, now I know why he's such a good playtester and can say, that guy has the wrong strength for that weapon. That guy has the wrong stats there. Boom, 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 boom. The guy just probably looks at things and just can be like, wrong, wrong, wrong. Anyway, David Austin has a great little adventure hook. It's called The Ship of the Seven Hands. It's about a cursed female octopus. Neat. And of course, there's a whole bunch of information on creatures here. We got Henry Cobb fleshing out the Kraken. We have 3 pages of talking about gargoyles by Greg Miller. Steve talks about an archer crab. And then we have giant ants written by David Pulver, Guy Miclemore, and Greg Pauline. I believe that's how you say that, I hope. These are all guys that are working on the Fantasy Trip bestiary right now. And also there is Anthony Shostak. It's working on, he has an article called The Naturalist Notebook, which has 7 natural creatures as opposed to ones that are magically created. And this one that you're looking here is called the Nabild, and it's basically a form of a goo, an amoeba type thing. And I'm really think those are cool. I like slime, so anything that's kind of goes off of that, I don't think there's enough of them. So I like the idea that something else plays in. And of course, I've got, like I said, I was happy enough to get into Hexagram number 5, and my article finishes off the whole thing with something called Breaking the Breakers, which is working with players that try to game the system a little bit too much. And I go into that. There's some empathy there because we all do it from time to time, but I talk about how to kind of wean them out of that. So we'll go. That'll be there. So anyway, that's what I have for a hexagram. I hope you all pick it up, no matter what system you use. And thank you very much. I'll see you next video.